On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and hopefully Nick will wade through all things important Star Wars before getting back to new Star Wars breakdowns next week. There are still a few things of note, sans Bad Batch breakdowns, such as a new image leak for Mando S3. They'll also talk about a few new rumored Star Wars projects in the works and what they could be about before riffing on some Star Wars gaming news from Ubisoft. Of course, the show will end with Question of the Week responses and the latest round of Top 5 Star Wars fan artist features. Punch it, Chewie!
Hey now, everybody! Blah, 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 blah. Look who's back. He made it. Woohoo! We didn't know if he would, but young Nick is back for his first show of 2023. We have a shitty current bit rate, so I'm sure we're cutting in and out, but who cares? We're here to talk Star Wars, or pretend to talk Star Wars, since I completely jacked the schedule. You know, last week I was all like, oh yeah, we're so smart. We're doing our first show of the year on Wednesday so we can cover the Bad Batch premiere. And then we'll have new Star Wars to talk about from now until April. I was feeling really good about myself. And then, you know, Nick, I turn off the mics and I go, fuck. Yeah. We're doing the show. We don't have anything to talk about. We're doing the show next Tuesday, and there's literally nothing to talk about because I blew the Bad Batch premiere wad, and I blew the Ahsoka rumors wad, which I really should have saved for you this week because there was some good shit in there to kind of chew on and spitball and go back and forth. But I got greedy. I got gluttonous with Star Wars news last week when I was by myself, as you were dealing with, as I told everyone, the remnant inflicted virus that Moff Gideon gave you in your sleep. So yeah, I basically took a blowtorch to any good topic that you and I could have discussed this week and saved a bunch of low-hanging fruit. So, hey. Yeah, there's always time for Star Wars time, just like our boy Neri Leon is saying in here. Welcome to the live stream. In fact, if you've never joined the live stream, we do it every Tuesday, 2:30 p. East on YouTube at Star Wars Time Show. That's right, on YouTube. We have a handle at Star Wars Time Show. So
that is correct.
Yeah, if you're tuning in, young Nick is back. The remnant, they were unable to take him out with their assassination plot. Although Babu Frick was down there in Texas cutting network cables, and we almost we almost lost him for another cast because his part of Texas lost their circuitry when it came to connecting to the internet. But luckily, he's back online. He's here. We've got the full cast today, both hosts in the house, with nothing to talk about. So we'll see you next week, everyone. Yeah, there's always time for Star Wars time. Go to starwarstime.net. Yeah, the Force and all that. Now we got some stuff. We're going to take a look at what should be the definitive version of the red TLJ inspired guards that are going to be featured in Mando Season 3. Now, you know, we talked about this months ago when it was first leaked that there were going to be these Praetorian style guards in Mando, but we didn't have official imagery. Now we do. Okay, we're also going to talk about some Star Wars video games. Don't get too excited. It was just a tweet, but you never know. Maybe Nick and I will pull something out of our butt. And, you know, we've got some new rumored shows. Ghost Track 17. The Detective Pikachu writers might have a Star Wars deal. What does that mean? Who the hell knows? But we're here to break it down for you. Hey, if anything, our one of our biggest fans, 69mega.com, Tinder, Our Girls Write First, has joined the stream. So thank you. All right, but hey, before we get in that stuff, Nick has not had a chance to kind of recap his 2022 holiday season. Remember, he was out last week, so he didn't get to hear, you know, what Santa brought him and what he's been up to for the past 3 weeks. So I figured it's a good time to kind of check in on young Nick, to see how he's doing, what he's been getting into, and more importantly, how did he process the Bad Batch season 2 premiere? So Nick, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Nothing too special for my holiday season. I was unable to make it home, caught up in all of the Southwest Airlines nonsense. So I spent Christmas here in Austin, had a good time. For New Year's Eve, just went out with a couple of our friends to a little speakeasy party in Austin.
Did you dress up?
I mean, kind of. Like, I just, wore a button-down shirt and stuff.
Derby
so
hat?
nothing too special. No, nothing like that. So yeah, I mean, my holidays were pretty low key. Got some gifts that my mom had to mail over because I couldn't come into town to see the family for Christmas. And then, after that, as soon as the new year rung in, I got sick. So I've spent basically the first week of 2022 with a cold. Luckily, it wasn't anything that was too serious. Wasn't COVID. Wasn't anything that's going to really knock you down. But it was definitely a sinus cold, sore throat, coughing, congestion, all that good stuff. So that's what knocked me out of the cast last week. Still kind of dealing with a little bit of it now. But yeah, that was kind of my holidays. I would say, we made the best of it, given the fact that there were a lot of issues that were happening.
Did you get anything Star Wars or no Star Wars?
No
Star Wars. All right.
No. No Star Wars stuff. Got a lot of gift cards, which when you get into your mid 30s, that's what you get. You get gift cards. I told my mom to get me some articles of clothing that I have been needing to update, and
some fresh undies from the mom. You gotta like that.
I guess if we have any tabletop RPG players, or people who play games that involve dice, Taylor got me this thing right here, which is a dice tower from a very nice woodworking company called Wormwood. They are fantastic at making like dice trays.
So, Nick, are those for other games then, or is that a game itself? Like, is the jar of dice a game, or could you use them for Yahtzee, D&D? I mean,
you could use it for anything. So basically, let me get it real quick.
Nick's getting some high-end wood dice right now. I'm commentating for those not on the live stream. He's back.
So for those of you on the live stream, what I'm holding up here is called a dice tower. Basically, what you do is you can put a dice in the top of it, and it pops right out the bottom. And then that way you have like a fun little way to roll your dice.
You got something to roll dice for, you lazy asshole.
Hey, look, this is what Taylor got.
I love it.
I did not tell
Humans
her to
are
give me
the
this.
best. Humans never cease to amaze me. We've invented something to make rolling dice easier.
It's a two-piece kind of set, because this little dice tower will eventually have a dice tray that comes out to it. So you roll it into your tray. You can roll handfuls of dice at a time. Makes it
kind of looked like a guillotine
fun
for your penis a little bit. Like, you like jam it into that square hole and then drop the metal.
But yeah, so she got me this. The dice tray is coming this week.
Do you guys do a lot of tabletop or no?
I mean, I DM a game with my friends from my time working at Facebook. So usually we try to get a game going once a month. I basically have been the story writer and dungeon master for it since August of last year. So we've played every month except December, because December was just a little hard to kind of get. So
you're like Eddie from Stranger Things, right?
Kind of, yes. Eddie was their dungeon master in Stranger Things.
You just don't have the sweet hair and
I don't have the locks.
Yeah, you know what? Because I'm asking because in someone someone worth their weight in gold would probably already have this information to give you, but there's supposed to be a new Star Wars card game coming out this year within the next few months. And reading about it, it sounds fucking fantastic. But you'd think I would have remembered the name of the game so the rest of you could go check it out. Sadly, I did not. So just go Google cool new Star Wars card game 2023 and see what comes up. But yeah.
We have played. So there is a Disney has a game called Villainous, and there is a Star Wars version of Villainous that I also have down here on this shelf that Taylor and I have played.
Okay. I know it's new. Man, I just need to look for it.
I think is it this one? New Star Wars deck building game.
What's it called?
Is it called Talisman?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Damn it.
Anyway, Star Wars deck building game. I see it here. Fantasy Flight announces new Star Wars deck building game.
Yeah, that's it, Nick. The one from Newsnet.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're right.
So yeah, I mean, I'll probably check it out.
It just sounded cool. I know we're on like the most uninteresting tangent of all.
Battle for the Galaxy.
There you go.
That's what it's called.
And the reason is like we're really pandemic and on is kind of forced some of this, but we got back into playing games, cards in particular. But I don't, Nick, have you ever gotten into the Exploding Kittens universe?
Yeah, so Taylor and I have played a lot. Like, we play Exploding Kittens. We've played a lot of games that are kind of similar. Like, we've played Unstable Unicorns.
Yeah, okay, all right. They're pretty fucking cool games, and like that.
They are. They're really fun.
That company that they make Throw Burrito, the Chuck the Avocado. They're just fun games, and that's kind of what got me interested in that Star Wars game. Hey, speaking of the little one,
I got a book.
What book did you get? Oh, show them. Good. That's good to show. Right here, I'll do it for you. Check that out. This is what she brought home from the library today. Star Wars Jedi Academy by Jeffrey Brown. I think that was a very wise choice, my young Padawan.
There was more of that was different.
Awesome. That looks good. We'll have to read some, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good to see you. Okay. She's back.
Very cool. But yeah, so check that out. But yeah, so actually I have a D&D session coming up on Friday. That I'll be again.
You guys,
the games
you do that all virtually? You said through the phones?
No, we do it at.
You meet up?
No, we do it at home. So
you guys get all fucked
gathers,
up, or you like just play sober?
I mean, they like some of like the players drink, but I can't just because I have too many things to manage. Like
6 beers in, you're like, fuck all you, game's over, I win.
Yeah. So like for me, I have to not only kind of run the game and interact with them, but I'm playing every other character that they interact with in the world.
Oh, yeah. So this is like, damn it, we need to record this. This is like dinner art theater or something then, right? Because do you actually ham it up and play like if you're a witch, you're like, I'm Dick the Witch, I'm gonna get you.
I can't do many voices, especially not now since I still do have a little bit of congestion.
But you'll like change your tone and shit. You add some personality. All right. I like this.
Every character has a different personality, and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean it's a story that I have written completely on my own. And
well, look at you learn something new every day. How about that, people? How about that shit? I love it. Well, that's awesome. All right. Well, now that we know that Nick is in the Hellfire Club, as Tone says, that's pretty cool. I wish they'd do like a Star Wars D&D. I don't know if I'd have the patience for it though. Like I don't know.
See, that's the thing. That's the good thing about D&D is that like technically you can make D&D into anything because D&D is just a rule set. D&D is just like, oh, well, these are my stats and I rolled the dice to do this. And then you can just write a story about anything and then use all the D&D rules for it. So.
Shit. Yeah, it just seems like too many rules. I don't know. I'm like, I get OCD over rules. So when I get a new game, the first thing I do, even though the game, especially Exploding Kitten, don't read the fucking rules, just play. What do? Rules. Let me get online and make sure that these rules are actually the rules that should be the rules. It's weird shit. Hey, look who's here, Sir Dork. They're the big news this week.
Hey.
Nick, Sir Dick, a.k.a. Sir Dork. Sir Dork is back on Instagram. Sadly, though,
he got it.
Facebook stole his 75,000 follower account. He had to start anew. which I can't even imagine what that's like to process. I'm sure Jared,
unbelievable.
I know he's probably had to think about this for many weeks, but just this week, I think yesterday, he finally pulled the trigger and started a new account on IG. It's just at sir.dork. He dropped the 730, all that jazz. But we're trying to build him back up to where he should be, because that's think about that, dude. That's essentially like someone coming up to your ball sack and cutting it off. You build up a brand like that, and it was just like, he's running his own toy fucking shows. He's getting opportunities left and right, and then some cocksucker comes and hacks the bitch, and then Facebook's incompetent security team won't give it back to him. So he's got to start over. What a bunch of shit.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy, dude.
That's rough.
I can't believe, but hey, I guess it's hard to get,
that's meta for you.
Accounts back. Like, I don't get it.
Fuck all these people. And that's why, I'm glad his YouTube, he was at least able to recover that, so he's not starting from ground fucking zero. But my God, like, I would love to have a following like him, but I don't think I could go through what he just went through. I would probably drive the meta and start shooting people, honestly. Like, I wouldn't be able to just take it like he's taking it. I'm sure behind the scenes he's like punched out a few babies and stepped on some cats, but just to think, years of work flushed down the toilet because of a hack. Unbelievable. All right, Nick. So let's get your report out on the Bad Batch Season 2 premiere. We're 18 minutes in. I guess we should give these people some Star Wars, because it is a Star Wars time show. But it is nice to have you back. It's always more fun and lively to be chatting to a warm body instead of just the voices in my head. So welcome. But yeah, last week I did my videos. I had the mic to myself to talk about Bad Batch S2 premiere. So go ahead. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah. So I was very happy with the 2-episode premiere. I thought it was very fun. I was surprised that they introduced the Wanda Sykes character as quickly as they did. I thought that they may wait for the reveal on that one a little bit longer. But they really did kind of throw you right into the action. That opening beach scene of them running away from all of those crab creatures actually reminded me of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, funny enough, because one of them starts off in a pretty similar way.
You're right.
Like, where you literally see the entire,
he's just running.
He's running down the beach, and then the natives are just running after him. He's getting to the boat and shit. So I thought that was fun. So episode 1 was very interesting. You get the introduction of Wanda Sykes' new character, and then you basically take right off to Castle Sereno, and you're messing around in some separatist era type of world, with all of the war chest, quote unquote, that they were going after.
I like that call back to Dooku's place, because like I said last week, and I know you probably haven't watched the Clone Wars in years, but that throne room in particular, where Hunter and Wrecker get trapped, and that was an important place in the Clone Wars. A lot of shady decisions went down there. The birth of Savage Opress, his Dooku getting in league with the Night Sisters. So that was a cool callback.
Yeah, no, I mean it was really cool to kind of revisit that area, and I mean the rest of the episode. I mean, there were a lot of highlights and stuff like that.
Good thing they did really a 2-parter, right? The way the episode 1 ended.
Because the way episode 1 ended, if we had to wait until tomorrow to see episode 2, it'd be like, what the fuck? You really put out a 1-episode cliffhanger and didn't finish it. At first I was wondering if Captain Wilco was going to end up being Cody. Because I know that's one thing that we're all waiting for in season 2 is, are we going to run into Cody? And what other clones out there on the Imperial side could the Bad Batch run into and have some interactions with? So right out the gate, as soon as we get to Sereno and you see the one clone captain that's kind of running the protection detail around all of the war chests and all of the valuables, I was like, oh, I wonder if that's Cody, and he's the one who's kind of managing this, and this is how we'll be introduced to them. Obviously, it wasn't. We found out in episode 2 that this was Captain Wilco, And given how episode 2 ended, I can see why they didn't want to make it Cody because Wilco gets iced.
Yeah,
and
Rampart's
thrown
a
over
son
a
of a
waterfall.
bitch. Hey, real quick, while you're on that, and then I'll let you finish. The Wilco thing. So now, Nick, we've seen twice where the officer ranks of clones seemingly are they're breaking some parts of their conditioning, right? Because if you remember from season 1, Captain Hauser, when he was being called upon to execute all those Rylothians, he essentially is like, "Fuck you, I'm not doing it." He's like,
no,
he's
I'm
like
not
that's
Same
too
thing.
far. I'll murder my Jedi generals that I loved, but just killing innocents, this is getting a little weird. But now in season 2, Nick, we see another captain in Wilco follow orders, but when he's given an order that's shady, he's like, "Fuck you, I'm not doing it." So I think it was last week on the show, or maybe one of my breakdowns, I was like, it seems like the officer ranks, the effect of the chip is degrading faster than the regs. I mean, is that anything to look at, or are they just focusing on the officers because they usually were the ones that were talking and had the names and personalities in the Clone Wars?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell because I would imagine that once you're at an officer rank, they may have to make some changes
to loosen
to the
you up
way
a little
that your
bit.
chip.
Yeah, so you have more decision making control, right?
Exactly. So maybe the officers are seeing a little bit more chip degradation sooner because they have the ability to kind of, like you said, make decisions, and they have to make quick calls and stuff like that in the heat of battle. Whereas the regs don't really need to make a decision; they just do what they're told, and that's it. So that's a good theory that maybe the officers or the clones that have their chip modified to give them a little bit more free will are starting to break conditioning a little bit quicker. And
if you remember Clone Force, they were able to not succumb to it because they were different. You know what I mean? They were different clones. Their chips weren't as tuned up. And one of the reasons Crosshair is so nuts is because Tarkin had them jack his chip up to like 1,000. So it just seems they really haven't showcased regs breaking conditioning, but now we have 2 named captains that have broke. We don't know Hauser's fate besides being locked up, and obviously in this one, Rampart blasts him in the face and see you later.
Wilco is definitely donezo.
Wilco will comply and die.
Yeah, will comply.
It's weird though. Like, do you? I'm sorry, I'm stuck on this Wilco thing, but do you think it was similar to Hauser, and the reason he didn't follow the orders because it was just plain wrong? And it's not the chip at all, and and clones do have compassion, or is it all kind of combined together?
I think, like in that instance where he's actually telling him to like fabricate a report, that would be something that I would imagine that the chip would prohibit him from doing anyway.
Good soldiers follow orders, though, and he's getting an order. So I don't know. It's weird. It's true. Probably looking too far into it, but you got to look for these cracks. Like, at some point in time, there's going to be a full-on either clone revolt, or there's going to be enough of these officers getting a little tilty that the Empire's just going to be like, all right, let's go get them all on a planet and fucking glass the thing, right? I mean, we still got to see this resolution that the Empire has for the clone forces. I mean, you can't just let them age out. Something's going to happen. There's going to be some form of mass extinction event, in my opinion. Culling. Yes, exactly. Clone genocide, if you will.
Given the fact that they've stopped production of clones altogether, at least as far as we know, basically what you can do at this point is just throw them out into the wild and be like, look, if you get killed, you get killed, and we'll replace you with, TKs, regular conscripted soldiers, and the TKs and stuff.
It seems they're getting shit jobs now, like, packing up war chests on Sereno and whatnot. So I mean, really, that's what I'm most intrigued about this season. Ultimate is like the clones. What do we do? What are we doing with these outside of our heroes? What's going to happen with these?
Definitely interested to see if like they literally just let them, like, hey, we're not going to kill you, like we're not going to put you out of your misery in mass. We're just going to let you, like you said, do they age out and just die of their natural kind of accelerated aging? Do they die out because like they get put out into the field and they just get killed during the natural course of combat? It will be interesting to see how that works.
In my opinion, knowing the Empire doesn't want any loose ends, and the thought of having a from birth trained army out there on their own is probably not good. So, like I said, I think they're gonna probably not, because it's a fucking cartoon. But in some sense, they're gonna send them somewhere to get just extincted,
just gas them,
just to get done.
Yeah, no, it's definitely possible. I mean, and now that you see, I think what may end up being the trigger more than anything is like if the disobedience, like we've seen with Hauser and Wilco, keeps coming up, then I think that will trigger that. Then they'll be like, okay, now we do need to enact some sort of large scale.
You know as well as I do, Nick, that the regs, when it comes down to it, they'll follow their clone captains over anyone else. Don't you think?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean,
I think so. I mean, like they're because they're chip programming now, unless they've gone in like and that's another thing that we're just unsure of.
Right. What's an order
now that Kamino?
What's an order? Well, I mean, really, all we know about the chip is they have to follow orders, but from who? Is it from clone commanders? Is it only from Palpatine? Is it from officers? We don't really know, because clearly both Wilco now and our Hauser from last season, they disobeyed an order from an officer. Yeah,
and now that the Kamino cloning facility is completely wiped out, does the Empire have the ability to make tweaks to the chip? Because we know that the Kaminoans had the ability to go in and insert orders. That's how Order 66 was put in there, and modify the chips in mass. That's how they were able to basically, I think, control everything.
What we do know, so they probably do have something, is they have Nala Se, and they're at that mountain facility, more than likely cloning and experimenting with shit. But they don't want to make an army. That's clear. I mean, I think they took her
absolutely not.
for Palpatine's uses and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
It's the fun stuff of Bad Batch. It's just it's still such an early period after the fall of the Republic. You don't fucking know anything. But the clone, that's a major problem for the Empire.
Yeah. I also liked how the Bad Batch, even to this point, has been stun only when it comes to combat with with the regs that are now under Imperial control.
I know. It's like they can't kill their former brethren for some reason, even though they're trying to kill them.
And I mean, that's the same. I mean, I could understand it more when it was season 7 of Clone Wars, when you had Rex and Ahsoka making their way through the 332nd. Like, they obviously, like, those are like, these are your best friends.
They were together for 3 years. I mean, literally for 3 years.
So I could understand that one a lot more, especially coming from Rex, where he's like, I can't kill my men. Like, these are my men. I can't kill them. But with the Bad Batch, especially since the Bad Batch themselves weren't really integrated into the regular army.
They look down on them. Really, I mean, they're the ones that call them regs.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising that they're going with the stun thing. The one thing I will say is that, does Omega's bow stun? Because she definitely wasn't shooting out some circles.
No, dude.
Like
she's ruthless, man. She's just like her twin brother Boba. She doesn't give a fuck. She's gonna ice anybody. She's like, I don't have any ripples on this bitch. I'm just killing motherfuckers.
Yeah. So that was fun.
And I think we have to argue that Wrecker's new cannon gun probably didn't have a stun setting when he was just blasting motherfuckers.
Yeah, he's just like shooting off to the side so he doesn't explode their whole body. He's just trying to hit the ground next to him so he knocks him out.
Boom! I love that guy.
But I mean, I think the Bad Batch fell right back into its rhythm. I will say that, like, first 2 episodes didn't really set up anything in terms of like larger arcing story plots for season 2, at least that I could see yet, other than the fact that, like, these clones are clearly just like expendable pieces to the Empire now that we saw how Rampart handled the Wilco situation. Like, they're just gonna, like, if anything goes wrong, they're just gonna be like, all right, we're just gonna kill you. We're just gonna kill you. Like, we're not gonna, like, there is no more like, hey, let's give your chip a shock and see if we can get you back.
It's you're done. You don't follow orders. You're toast. See, my big gripe, I didn't. there was a lack of Imperial content for me, Nick. But I did feel there was 3 main narratives, maybe more, maybe less, kind of being set up. The first being kind of from Echo's point of view, like we need to do more to combat the Empire versus dicking around and being, wannabe pirates. So I think that's going to be something that's explored all season long. Like, when is the batch finally going to make the decision to fully join the, at this point, resistance? I guess it's not there's no rebel cells. There's none of that shit.
No, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, right now, literally, their goal is to just fucking get money so they can be free.
Exactly.
I mean, like and the thing is like they don't even have a concept of what free
that's
means.
what I mean. So that's like one of the big narratives. Like, how are they going to deal with this now? And in Echo, you can see he's all in on, we need to do what we're best at, and that is combat shitheads. But then the other thread you're going to get is Omega and like how her involvement with the batch is going to affect those plans one way or the other. Another thread, you got to think it's interesting that Crosshair did not tell Rampart that Clone Force 99 survived. Okay, because he told them they're dead. So why did Crosshair do that? I think there's some narrative exploration there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And there was like a little bit of sign towards the end of season 1 where we're like, is Crosshair
he
of like,
wants his brothers back,
like,
dude. He wants his brothers back, but he is, in his mind, he thinks he's doing the right thing. And it's said, we always talk about, if you're, depending on what side of a war you're on, you think your side is right. And Crosshair truly believes the Empire is correct, and he just wants his family back. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that he's being tweaked in the head. Although I think that got fried though when he got flash burned in season 1. I believe his chip is gone, so he is by his own will choosing to do this shit. He misses his boys deep down. He misses his boys deep down, but he just can't come to terms with his programming and his feelings. Oh, yeah.
So
poor Cross.
That was one thing that I think was definitely left out of the 2 episode premiere, is like just like a quick check in with Crosshair. Like we didn't even see.
Dude, all we got was Rampart at the end to shoot a guy in the face. I mean, the Empire got like 10 seconds, because I don't consider the clones a part of the Empire. I know they are, but they're not really.
Yeah, I mean, like they are literally the cannon fodder of the Empire at this point. Like they're not even something that they like particularly care about, especially Rampart and Tarkin. Like they could give 2 shits less.
You see how shady Rampart is. I mean, he's going to do anything to advance his career, including lying to his superiors about his failures. So. I mean, Rampart, he's turned out to be a great villainous Imperial officer. I mean, he really does kind of feel like a version of Tarkin that may even be more ambitious than Tarkin was, which is a little scary.
And that will be interesting to see, because there is a very distinct possibility, knowing how the Empire, like the interior workings of the Empire goes, like does Tarkin view Rampart as a threat? And is Rampart, gonna be like, is there gonna be a tiff between these two? Because at this point, Tarkin is still a governor. Like he still refers to him as Governor Tarkin. He has not moved up to the rank of Moff or Grand Moff yet.
Correct.
Like, so it will be interesting to see the internal machinations of the Empire here. Is like, if they get into that, did they show some interactions between Tarkin, who we know eventually moves up to one of the highest levels that you can in the Empire, and some of these other officers that are on the ground floor in the Empire. So there's a lot that could be dug into here. I think I'm interested to see how
Rampart is going to be the main guy for the Bad Batch. Yeah. I mean, I think you might get some Tarkin sprinkled in here or there, mostly to yell at Rampart and make threats, but Rampart is going to be their antagonist for the series, and probably some bounty hunters here or there and some other shitheads from around the galaxy. All right, good stuff. Hey, do you think Fee is buddies with Hondo, since she's a pirate, right? Be. Yeah, I mean, so there could be some Hondo action this year.
Yeah, 100%. As soon as we met her, and like everything went down, and Sid introduced her as like, oh, it's best pirate I know or something like that. Like clearly calls her a pirate
Right.
in the introduction
That's
that
what
she's making to the batch. I was like, oh, Hondo is almost 100% coming.
Yeah, I mean, because besides Han Solo, he is the most famous space pirate in all of Star Wars. So
yeah.
I love Hondo. I mean, Hondo's like a huge deal in Swago now, Nick, these days. I think I told you.
I remember you said that.
There's a new, it's just like a mixed class where they can play in either dark or light side territory wars, and he was the first character of that class rank. Just got him up to 7 star now. I need to relic him.
Nice.
The old Swago life.
Nice.
Sweet. All right.
The grind never ends on Swago.
It doesn't, but I love it. If you're in an organized guild like mine, it makes it enjoyable. Although sometimes I would rather just be playing traditional video games and sitting there at night getting my moves in and my GAC battles in and territory wars, but whatever. Okay.
Oh, man.
Well, that's good shit.
Overall, I was very happy with the 2-episode premiere of Bad Batch. I agree with you that I do wish that there would have been a little bit more focus on the Imperial side, but I assume that we're going to get into that pretty quickly, especially given how episode 2 ended. So,
hey, real quick, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I did we watched the Skywalker saga over the holidays. Always a good time. But when we were talking about Tarkin, I was reminded of fact when I was little, and I know you weren't as young when you watched Star Wars, but isn't it crazy how in A New Hope Tarkin is more or less presented as like the main bad guy? Like, yeah. I know we talked about this before, where as a kid I felt like Darth Vader was his bitch, and even on a rewatch, Darth Vader is Tarkin's bitch. And it's funny how now that we have all this new canon with hindsight, you're like, yeah, Tarkin was just another human shithead that got high up in the ranks, and Palpatine tortured Vader by allowing Tarkin to treat him like a cunt. It's just like that.
Yeah,
but it's basically like A New Hope. I mean, Tarkin is the main bad guy. Is like that. I think they mentioned the Emperor dissolved the Senate, but you're like, as a kid, you're like, hey, whatever the fuck that is, who cares?
It's like Emperor, whatever. Yeah,
because you're a little kid, you don't understand. You just see the images. You're like, okay, this guy keeps telling the tall guy in black armor what to do, and he fucking does it. Yeah. So he's the boss. It's just, I don't know. It's weird. Like I said, with hindsight.
So that's why the ending of, like, for George Lucas, in his mind, he's like, hey, I'll make this movie if it fucking bombs. Then it
was
bombs,
self-contained.
Like,
100%. Star Wars was self-contained.
I killed my big bad at the end of the first movie. Yeah. So if it doesn't go anywhere, I can say that I've told a cohesive story that ends in one movie. So yeah, I mean, he definitely planned that very well, to where he's like, I'm going to make this old guy, Tarkin, the bad guy, and then if we get to go on to other movies, I have this second bad guy here.
Then we'll talk about the Emperor guy
and the Emperor. So I have these guys that I can go on with later if I need to.
Hey man, it's just things can happen like that when something is 50 years old and it's still consumed by generation after generation. That just speaks to the power of George's initial vision. Yeah. But it's just
I think that's one thing that, like, people really don't take into account when they think about Star Wars, is like, you have, like you said, you have 50 years of storytelling that's happening here. So like, people are like, oh, well,
it's generational,
Lord of the Rings did it better, or like they told a better cohesive story. It's like, yeah, I understand that, but like Lord of the Rings was like a 3-book series that just keeps getting remade in different ways.
It didn't come from Peter Jackson's head.
Yeah, like, Star Wars has now not only spanned 10 movies, but it's also spanned 20 plus 20 plus seasons of television.
In film, George did what Tolkien did in books. Same thing. I mean, created a massive universe out of his fucking brain. Like, just hey, Star Wars, blah, Skywalkers, blah, Darth Vader, blah. All right, now I have $4 billion. I mean, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's been around for so long and touched so many different generations, and we all kind of process it differently. It's just weird now to go back with all this new canon. Like Tones is saying, the respect tolerance Vader had for Tarkin was a surprise when you see how Vader is in other movies, and that's 100% correct. Because by Empire Strikes Back, Nick, what's he doing to the Imperial Admiralty. I mean, he's wiping them out left and right. He's like, oh, you came out of hyperspace too quick. You're dead. Fuck you.
Boom.
You're the new admiral. Okay, fuck you. You're dead.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if I think that's what it was, is like they like in episode 4, like Leia tells Vader, it's like, oh, you're not on Tarkin's leash.
Exactly. She's reinforcing
I literally
it.
think that's what it. I literally think that's what it was. It's like Tarkin is holding this guy back from just fucking killing everybody.
Yeah.
Like from killing anybody who drops their lunch tray in the fucking lunchroom of the Death Star or something like that.
It's
like,
if you're at the table scene and he's choking that dude out and Tarkin's like, okay, that's enough. It's like, no, Darth Vader
like
would have fucking killed that guy.
Yeah, it's like literally he was like Tarkin was the like
it's like his babysitter.
Like,
yeah.
It's like, come on, you can't kill him.
Well, you know, I mean,
we don't have that many people left.
We can headcanon. I mean, you know why Palpatine did it? It's just to fucking keep Anakin pissed off. I mean, anything he could do to twist his tits. That was his main drive as Anakin's master. Right. Like, I need to keep this guy as pissed off as possible. When he gets too pissed, then I need to break him down again and let him get angry, fearful, and then pissed again. And I'll have an even stronger version of the chopped up dude I once thought was the chosen one. All right, sorry. Like I said, a little bit of a Tarkin tangent there.
A little bit of a Tarkin tangent, but hey, it's relevant. We're definitely going to see some Tarkin in Bad Batch.
That's the important stuff. Hey, well, let's move on for Bad Batch real quick. What do you think we're going to see tomorrow? I kind of said we might get more of the Empire in episode 3, hopefully, but who knows? Maybe we'll stick with the Batch. What do you think?
I do think that we're going to get a lot more of the Empire than we got in the first 2 episodes, given how this episode ended, especially with Rampart killing a captain, and then also, admitting, like, now it's out there, potentially that the Bad Batch is still alive. I think we're going to get some Crosshair. I think we're going to get some Tarkin.
Do you think Rampart solely assigns that to Crosshair, or does he like, hey man, you lied to me, I can't trust you, and he goes to bounty hunters, or how do you think he's going to tackle this?
I think that he's going to go elsewhere, maybe even just like continue to go through like the captains or like the officers within the clone ranks, because he knows that like, if a clone doesn't say something or doesn't do something that I tell them to, I just fucking kill them like I killed this last guy. With a bounty hunter, he's now getting into an area where he could potentially get himself in trouble with Imperial upper management because, you're now going outside of the organization.
Well, and someone else knows that Clone Force 99 is still alive.
Yeah. So I think that we're going to get a little bit more Imperial machinations in episode 3. I think that we're going to get, obviously we're going to have to get a new mission for Bad Batch right off the bat, whether that be from Sid or from some outside party that we haven't been introduced to yet.
I don't think they're not going to get the Rex mission yet. I think the Rex stuff's going to be midway or towards the end.
A little bit later. If anything, we may get like some sort of cryptic message, like maybe they get like a communique similar to the communique that they got in season 1, where they weren't really sure who it's from. But I imagine that we'll have some more interactions with Sid, and another mission that they get tossed onto from Sid to try to, start to build up money again so they can be free, as they keep saying.
They've got the same sickness that Cassian had at the beginning of season 1. Like, if I can just get more money to pay off my debts and then I do whatever I want. It's like, no, you guys got to understand. And that's what Echo's trying to tell him. Like, hey, fuckheads.
Like, it's not just
look
money.
What they're doing. Like, hello, there is no freedom here. I don't care how much money you have. It took Cassian, 12 episodes to figure it out. Hopefully, by the end of season 2, it'll take Bad Batch 32 episodes to figure it out. But there is no freedom under the Empire, and they'll get there. But I think Echo's going to be the push, because remember, he's not pure Clone Force 99. He came from the regs and got his enhancements courtesy of the Techno Union. So I think that's why he's a little more tuned into the galaxy. I don't know. All right. Hey, look, we did something good here, Nick. Tones is saying, love this character chatter. If there's ever light news weeks, how about a specific character chat now and again? Love the breakdown of stuff like that. All right. Thank you, Tones.
Yeah, no, I mean, we could definitely do
we're
that.
always
Just
down
pick a
for
character.
input. You know, if you guys listen to us for some reason, so if there's things you think that would make us more listenable, then let us know. I'm all about that. That was just kind of natural, and I think that's what made it a fun little conversation, but we can definitely take that into account. Thank you, Lord Tones. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of these, like I said, low-hanging fruit, starting with new Mandalorian S3 leak provides look at the Last Jedi-inspired guards. I know, I'm being cute, trying to not put spoilers in the title, but who gives a shit? We have talked about this in the past. This isn't a new rumor per se. What is new is we've got the actual art of what the Praetorian guards, or assumed to be Praetorian guards, or look like Praetorian guards, are going to look like in the Mandalorian season 3.
Proto-Praetorians.
Correct. And I have some theories on these. We'll kind of see where things go here. All right, so here we go. If you're on the live stream, we've got the guard in view right now. It comes from makingstarwars.net. They are reliable, or blah, blah, blah. I was trying to say reliable and reputable at the same time, so that is reliable. But there it is, Nick, and I've got some thoughts here. If you're not on the stream, let me try to break it down real quick. First thing to get in your mind is the Praetorian guards from The Last Jedi. I mean, I would say, Nick, all the way up to their helmet, the armor is fairly identical. The weapons even have a similar feel. They kind of have like that red energy on I
must say that
metal.
like heated blade almost. Yeah.
The big difference is in the helmets, and to me, there's some Mandalorian aesthetic going on in this Praetorian guard's helmet, right? Like a lot.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, if you just look at the visor slits, basically, aside from like the thing that bisects it right down the middle, I mean, it is almost directly a Mandalorian visor slit.
Two helmets come to mind. The Armorer and Bo-Katan have very similar, like, shortened eye slits, and, you know, they're much sharper slits on the face, I guess, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, it's also reminiscent of like Phase 1 clone helmets, which makes sense because, you know, if you're in the Imperial Remnant, then you probably have some, some idea of what old school, Phase 1 clone troopers from the Republic era may have looked like. But also at this point, too, I mean, you've already been working with Imperial Super Commandos, which were all Mandalorian based. And we know that Imperial Super Commandos also had like a red flare to their outfit as well. It wasn't all red like the Praetorians. It was white and red, but still, basically from the inception of clone troopers on, because their progenitor, their father, Jango Fett, was a Mandalorian, or at least paraded around in Mandalorian armor, they've kind of kept that aesthetic for their armor throughout their life cycle. And now you see another, like this Proto-Praetorian guard that we'll see in Mando S3 continues that evolution of like from all the way from Phase 1 clone troopers to even what we see in the sequel trilogy for the Sith, the Sith troopers and the First Order troopers and stuff like that. So it's a good mix of both the Mandalorian aesthetic and what we know as Praetorian guards.
There's like some Imperial vibes mixed in there too, but to me it's a marriage between Mandalorian armor and Stormtrooper armor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but you also have that layered stuff on the arms like you see in the Praetorian guards from TLJ. So, hey, that's all neat, right? We can see it, we look at it, but why is this happening? That's the fun stuff to talk about. So, MSW doesn't really have sound information. He's more or less speculating on things that I agree with, thinking that these guards are probably going to be aligned with Gideon. If you remember, I think we did a report. I don't know if Nick was even here, but hell, maybe I just did this in my head. Mm-hmm. But MSW also broke that Gideon himself is going to have new armor, black with like red inlays, and his helmet is going to have like a Mandalorian helmet with like fucking horns on it, like kick-ass shit. And so, imagine Gideon's short little ass and his new Mandalore-inspired kit, and then these guys behind them. That's kind of the visual making Star Wars was getting there. So I went on to further speculate, Nick, that these guards themselves could be Mandalorians, no?
Yeah, no, it's definitely possible. I mean, especially given the fact that we haven't seen Mandalore since the Siege of Mandalore at the end of Clone Wars Season 7. I mean, well, we have a little bit in Rebels, but we don't really know where, a lot of the Mandalorians sit. All we've seen are essentially two factions. We've seen the Night Owls under the guise of Bo-Katan, and then we've seen the Armorers faction, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there could be Mandalorians that are still loyal to the Imperial.
Here's where I kind of get this from. You, as you just said right there, you got to remember when the Empire took over Mandalore, the Gar Saxons of the world went in league with them. So it's not too far off to think that there are still Mandalorians loyal to people like Gideon and the Remnant, maybe hold up on Mandalore. And these are some of the forces that Din and Bo, and after they're done with their shit, they're going to have to go against. So and if you think about it, especially if these are the true beginning of the Praetorian Guard ranks that Snoke ends up enlisting, what better guard forces could you ask for than Mandalorians? It'd be like having a bunch of Spartans protect you. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I mean, fuck Palpatine's Imperial Guards. They're useless. They just fucking walk around and go down elevators. These guys, as we saw in TLJ, they can battle, and they can actually go toe to toe with Force users for the most part until lightsabers get involved. But if you're the Remnant, and you're working in this secrecy shit, and you're in leagues with Palpatine, and you're trying to get this clone going, what better protection force than a bunch of Mandalorians in red armor? I mean, there's no better warriors in the galaxy at this point in time besides maybe Luke Skywalker.
And the thing is we now know, like you said, Snoke used these guards as well. And we were always kind of wondering, where does Gideon sit? Is Gideon just out for his own? Is he just trying to, carve out a slice of the galaxy for his own now that the the Empire's fallen, and you have all of these warlords out there just trying to get their own slice of the galaxy? Or is he actually working with the shadowy Imperial remnant that does include Palpatine and the work that they're doing to resurrect his body off in the outer, and we know a little bit, Nick,
from Giancarlo, if we can believe him. He gets excited sometimes during interviews, but he's like, listen, I can tell you this, Moff Gideon, he's not the only one out there from the Remnant, and he has an idea of how to return the bad guys to prominence, if you will. And his mission is going to be trying to convince all these other assholes that he has the right idea, the right way of thinking, and they should get behind him.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see if there is kind of a person pulling the strings of Gideon, and the reason why, and that's why, some of these things that Gideon has will eventually make their way over into Snoke and others.
You almost have to, because if we can go on the rumors from Ahsoka as being legit, things start to get a little goofy with Thrawn. Would Thrawn really give a shit what's going on in the galaxy right now and be working with Gideon and splitting power? Or is Thrawn more concerned with building up his quote-unquote undead army and heading over and just cleaning house for himself? Do you think at this point Thrawn would want to share anything with the Remnant?
Oh, absolutely not. Given Thrawn's personality and what he is known to do and how he is known to work, he works within structures, he works within the Imperial Navy purely because he has to, or because he chooses to. But in a situation like this with an Imperial remnant where there is no leader and there is no official structure, he is going to be out for himself.
He sees that as an opportunity, you're saying then. There's a power vacuum and he can fill it. So
Exactly. Like he's not going to voluntarily fall in line under somebody else.
Okay.
That's just not how he works.
More than likely, Gideon, he wants to be the guy, but he's still working within the confines of we need to bring back the Empire and the guy, right? Somehow Palpatine has returned. Where we're thinking now that Thrawn might just be kind of in his own world. Yeah, free agent. He has his own plans, and those could include coming back to the known galaxy and taking power from everyone, be it the New Republic, the Remnant Empire. He don't fucking care. He's coming to kick ass and take names.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly.
All right.
So, we'll see how this all works out. What's also interesting is, like we've been speculating, are these Praetorian guards, early Praetorian guards, whatever you want to call them, are these Mandalorians, and are these Mandalorians that have maintained a stronghold on Mandalore? This leads into what we and a lot of the Star Wars community have been speculating about Mandalorian season 3 since season 2 ended is, are we going to see another Mandalorian civil war that goes on here? At first, we were thinking, like, is the Mandalorian civil war going to somehow be between, the bunker kids, if they're more out there, and the people like the Night Owls under Bo-Katan? Is that going to be the civil war? But really now with this out there could be a civil war between the bunker kids and the Night Owl kind of, type of factions combined versus the Imperial loyalists who are still maintaining a stronghold on Mandalore itself. That's another possibility that's out there. So
no, you're right. I mean, I think they're going to have their little spat, but ultimately it's probably going to be non-shithead Mandos versus people like this. Because I really do think these Red Guards, these maybe Praetorian, are Mandalorian. And they're protecting something. They're working with Gideon. We know Gideon's into the baby, and the baby's tied to that cloning facility on Navarro. It all lines up. I mean, I know there's some people like, oh, there we go, backfilling the sequel trilogy. Well, what'd you expect? Because we had the.
What do you think that fucking Clone Wars did?
Yeah, we had to backfill the prequels for Christ's sake.
Prequel trilogy.
It's Star Wars, my friend. Just get used to it, because the prequels backfilled the originals. That's just how Star Wars works these days. So just get used to it. I saw there was a great meme out there. It was of Rey, and it was something like, "Hey, don't worry. In 20 years, they'll." It was Anakin to Rey. Like, don't worry, in 20 years, the fandom will love you and have someone new to hate, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Time heals all wounds. That's what people say. So
Bat's saying Praetorian guards. Yeah, I mean, Bat, that's what I mean. Like, you had all those Mandalorians at first sided with Maul, but then stayed, like Gar Saxon and that girl, and then sided with the Empire. So yeah, I could, and we know Gideon was ISB on Mandalore, potentially overseeing a lot of the carnage. So he's got a boner for Mandalore. He probably wants to be Mandalorian if he's not already. That's why he's going to be wearing that new armor and his helmet and walking around with these dudes. So what
I'm interested to see is, like, there's so much information out there about Gideon. Like, Gideon's got this new armor. Gideon's got all this and that and all this other shit. Like, how does Gideon escape from his current confinement?
Right.
Gideon,
I know he's supposedly
season,
locked up with the New Republic, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be locked up for too long.
Yeah, like, Jesus Christ, does this dude get out like the day after they get him in? Like, if that's the case, then, like, Gideon is going to be a main player in terms of the opposition forces. Does season 3 open up with basically, like, kind of a time jump, and then
who knows, man?
Moff Gideon getting broken out of prison?
We'll learn that Cara Dune was a spy, so they'll shoot Gina's body double, like, instantly, just to take care of that problem. Even though it's been so many years, people probably forgot she was even in the show. And then she'll let Gideon out at the beginning, and then there you go, he's free from episode 1 till episode 8. But yeah, that's a good point, because we've essentially identified Gideon as the mastermind of season 3, and he's locked up. So who the fuck knows?
He's like literally ends the season on the ground in the custody.
That's thinking the way I did. Maybe Cara sprung him and got killed in the process. See, like I said, that's a good way to kill off that character and give fans, like, some form of
closure.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
I will say that she also had some closure to her film career, because apparently that movie that she put out with
the Hunter Biden movie, it didn't do well.
I saw a picture, and apparently it made $800.
Oh wow, that's a
box
surprise. I
office.
thought that would fucking light it
Ouch.
up, man. I mean, I'm surprised it wasn't on my AMC screen. It's weird.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that need to happen that we are just assuming is going to happen very quickly in Mandalorian.
Yeah, we're
season
making
3.
a lot of shit up. We just, we do this on the fly. It's getting close. I'm sitting here like, fuck, it's gonna be a lot of work coming up here in March, but I'm excited. I am really excited for the Mandalorian. Like that, it's like I think I forgot how much I've loved this show, as do a lot of us. Because as Nick said, we're going on 2.5 years since S2E8, and that's a long time. So you kind of forget that the love and the magic that show had and could suck you in every week. Not that these shows that have come out since have been piles of shit. They haven't. They've been great. Look at Andor, Bad Batch, Kenobi. But like we said, I think doing our top moments, it's that the Mandalorian just figured out the Star Wars magic, where these other series, they've dabbled in it and they've hit on certain aspects of the Star Wars magic. But to me, the Mando just checks all the fucking boxes. So.
Yeah, definitely. If there's one that is quote unquote untouchable, then I think that would be it.
Good point by Bat. Last of Us series starts next week, and it's getting some pretty decent critical praise. Actually, really good critical praise. Not that fucking matters, but I know that's a show I definitely want to get mixed up in, and I'm imagining Nick's kind of the same way. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it with the lady though. I don't know if I can convince her to get into like the zombie, like human apocalypse type of shit.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Like that's gonna be like, given the fact that it is kind of taking that turn. That
it's such a good, it's a great story, but to present it to people that aren't expecting it and then aren't really into zombies and humans being awful humans to each other. I might be doing this a solo on this one.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right, but yeah, if we watch it, we'll if we have time, maybe we'll talk about it during our pop culture talk on the Star Wars Time Show. All right, so there we go. There are our red Mando guards. Some are calling them Praetorian. Who the hell knows? I do think they're Mandalorian based, and I would not be surprised if these do become the model for the Praetorians, because, listen, if you want a bunch of dudes that don't use guns to protect you, you might as well get some Mandalorians, all right? There's going to be no better hand-to-hand fighters out there outside of Luke Skywalker, possibly. And that's only if he completed his tour through the Terraskasi, like Kara. So, all right, cool. Well, there he is, Mr. Red, and we'll obviously report on it. It seems like MSW is full of good stuff these days, so as he drops, we will cover. Okay, Nick, we got another one, and this too is also kind of not as... hell, what we just talked about is not a rumor. That's real. Okay, let me get my thoughts collected here. What we're about to talk about now is who the hell knows. This is not coming from Lucasfilm, but it's coming from sources that have broke unannounced Star Wars projects before. So we have this new unannounced series, Nick, that apparently has a code name of Ghost Track 17. It showed up in Production Weekly, which can sometimes scrape in some shit from people that don't know what they're talking about, so who knows. But apparently there's a Star Wars series with a working title of Ghost Track 17, and Dave and John are listed as producers for this project. So, in the past, some of these working titles have been made in a way that they do have some sort of tie or explainer for the series itself. I believe Ahsoka was called Stormcrow, and we always Filoni himself has kind of equated Ahsoka to being Gandalf.
And Gandalf was called Stormcrow by Grima Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings.
So sometimes these working titles for Star Wars projects could hint at what the actual project is. Just like Skeleton Crew's working title was Grammar Rodeo, which was from a Simpsons episode, a bunch of, about kids they get lost and have to go on an adventure, which ended up being essentially what Skeleton Crew is going to be about. So with that knowledge in tow, Nick, do you think Ghost Track 17 has any meaning, hidden meaning to this new series, or is it more like The Mandalorian? They just, I think that one was called Huckleberry.
Yeah. Given like Huckleberry just seems like Huckleberry seems like Blue Horizon, where it was just like, whatever, we'll just throw a name on
right.
it. Ghost Track 17 seems like too specific of a reference for it to not be like.
All right, so
like
let me give you some. Let me give you some of
about.
those specifics, because I can see your brains working here. So, all right. Now, these don't come from me. These come from other people. I think Bespin Bulletin in particular. But apparently, the Beatles' Abbey Road is considered one of the first albums to have a ghost track. All right, ghost tracks. A lot of you kids. Well, hell, people listen to the show, they're a bunch of old motherfuckers anyway. So you remember, ghost tracks on records, ghost track on CDs. A Tool comes to mind. You just let the CD play, and then out of nowhere, it kicks into a new song about carrots coming to eat us and shit like that. But the Beatles' Abbey Road supposedly had the first ever ghost track, and the track was titled Her Majesty, which means queen. So.
Yep.
Is there anything in Star Wars that you could see in John and Dave's sandbox that would be related to royalty? And you would think, you would think since it's them, it would be Mandoverse adjacent, like in that timeline.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like within what their kind of sphere is in the Star Wars universe. I mean, technically, Dave's sphere is all of Star Wars because he's the creative director. But given that it's Dave and John, we know that that's Mandoverse related. The only thing that I can think of, I mean, like top of my head is Satine, obviously. But I mean, could it be like a prequel series that does kind of focus on Mandalorians like during the Clone Wars, do you go back to the Clone Wars era, and does it focus more around like the Mandalorians and their inner workings and machinations during that time? Because I know that like obviously during the Clone Wars, we got a lot of Mandalorian centric storytelling in certain places, but it wasn't like the entire focus of the series. Do you go back to an animated series, maybe 1-2 seasons that does focus on the earlier times of the Mandalorian inner workings when Satine was still the leader of Mandalore, and the uprising of Death Watch, and how Maul, like a little bit more around that? That's one possibility that I think of. Or do you do it the opposite way, where Her Majesty is now, depending on what plays out in Mandalorian season 3, obviously, could Her Majesty be Bo-Katan? Because even though Mando Din Djarin is now the proper leader of Mandalorian society, given that he won the Darksaber in single combat, does he eventually at the end of season 3 decide to say like, hey, I am relinquishing this to Bo-Katan,
right,
who has dedicated her life to rebuilding the Mandalorian cause, instead of me, somebody who has no direct tie, who has no interest in actually leading a society? So in my mind, those are the two possibilities, that you have one that is actually built around Bo-Katan as the proper leader of Mandalore post season 3 of Mando, and then you have the possibility that it is a prequel type of show that's set during the Clone Wars time period, with the uprising of Death Watch and everything that happens during Mandalorian time.
I mean, it's
that area.
It's so wide open. Like I said, I mean, who even knows if this is real? Apparently, like I said earlier, Production Weekly sometimes scrapes from leakers that don't have a great track record. And as I said, I mean, Ghost Track 17 could mean absolutely nothing in regards to the content of the show.
Could be like a total red herring.
Exactly. Just as you said, a Blue Harvest for the movies, or Huckleberry for Mandalorian. I mean, Huckleberry, I guess, went on adventures, but it really doesn't line up with the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I mean, like Huck Finn, you would have to imagine that, like, if it was Huckleberry was the thing and they were trying to be cheeky with it, you have Huck Finn, who was a kid who was accompanied by, gosh, I can't remember his name from the
Tom Sawyer
book now. Tom Sawyer, yes. It was Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, so maybe like that. That's kind of
I don't know, but yeah, it's if you think about royalty in Star Wars, not a lot of names come up besides the Amidala's, the Organas, but she was just a princess, and you really can't use older Leia. Like Tones is saying in the chat, I mean, if this isn't Mandoverse adjacent, maybe you could do like teen Leia type of stuff. I'm saying Mandoverse because it's John and Dave, and that's all they've played in. So, I mean, if they're producing, I'm drawing that line myself. That okay, if they're producing, it's probably going to be in their sandbox. But I mean, who knows? It could all be a bunch of bullshit too.
At this point, we associate their sandbox with Mandoverse, but like I said, I mean, technically, Dave Filoni is the creative director for all of Star Wars. So he doesn't have it's not like they're going to come up to him and say like, "Hey, you can't do this." Dave can do whatever the fuck he wants. Right.
If this is real, it has purpose, and Dave has an idea for it. It's just I don't know. Yeah. Hey, and we're spinning our wheels.
The inclusion of Favreau definitely makes it seem Mandoverse.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they haven't let John play anywhere else because he established the Mandoverse. I mean, that's his creation. We got to remember, it wasn't Dave. It was John. Dave is there to champion him and make sure he doesn't fuck up the canon. But John created the Mandoverse, which spun into the Book of Boba Fett, and soon to spin into Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew. So it is his timeline to kind of to play with. And honestly, I would prefer this show to be in that timeline or beyond. I think we've got the OT era covered with Bad Batch and Andor, at least for the next year or two. So let's keep playing, as Nick said, let's keep playing in the new stuff where there really aren't rules. I mean, we still have 30 or so years to play with between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So I'm
lots of storytelling to happen there. Yeah, so I really do hope that we get a little bit more focus.
Okay, so that's Ghost Track 17. Here's the other one. This one just popped up today. And this came from Deadline, who they have broke shit before without Lucasfilm officially blessing it. But according to Deadline, the writers of Detective Pikachu, Dan Hernandez and Benji Samit, are working on a Star Wars project for Lucasfilm. All right, so these dudes recently worked on Koala Man, whatever the hell that is.
Never heard of Koala Man.
Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion, and the Addams Family 2, Nick. They wrote the cartoon version.
The animated one.
Yes.
So, lot of animated series. Koala Man is apparently an animated series.
Hugh Jackman's in it, though. I do know that.
Hugh Jackman's in it. Taylor and I like both of the animated Addams Family movies. I know that people have their issues with it, but we thought that they were both very funny. Detective Pikachu was also, I enjoyed that. I saw that on a plane and I thought it was fun.
Dude, anything with Ryan Reynolds in it at this point, I mean, he's a guy now. He's a dude. He's like a Tom Cruise or Dwayne. He just, it's going to be at least entertaining.
Okay, so this is Deadline news a day ago. So it says that Dan Hernandez and Benji Samit ink an overall deal with 20th Century TV Animation and ABC Signature. For those of you who don't know, both 20th Century TV and ABC Signature are owned by Disney.
Yeah, if you keep reading, it also specifically says Lucasfilm and Walt Disney Pictures too. So they're getting they're full on Disney.
They're just Disney owned and operated in its entirety at this point. It would be interesting if given their background, given their history, I could see them doing an animated series. They do seem,
they seem more geared towards the animated universe.
Animation, yeah. And if honestly, man, this is something that we bring up every now and then, that we talk about every now and then when like the appropriate piece of news drops. But man, dude, if these two guys could come in and revive Star Wars Detours or something similar, Like that would be a perfect project for them.
Hey man, I love that shit. I think it's tones in particular, like Detours offends him as it does some people. I love that shit. Like the robot chicken and the few Detour bits that I saw. I mean, Detours was one of the things I was most looking forward to before George decided to sell, because at that point we were only getting Clone Wars, the animated series. He had his Pipe Dream Underground series going that we did learn he wrote like 50 fucking episodes and shot some of it. But outside of that, is like he was letting people kind of dabble and have fun, and Detours was going to be the thing. And then he's like, you know what? I think I'd rather just take $4.6 billion instead. Fuck you guys. And
it's like
Disney's like, yeah, Detours ain't our thing. See you later. Canceled.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's benefit to having something like that in the universe. You know, like
Star Wars that makes fun of itself is great. Lego Star Wars is like the pinnacle of it. I mean, the Lego Star Wars Droids Tales, the Yoda Chronicles, some quality stuff. Like the ones where C-3PO recounts the trilogy to kids. I mean, just the hijinks they cram in there using the Lego humor. It's really fun stuff. And yes, it's not canon. It's not serious. Who cares? I like when Star Wars has fun with itself and can kind of make fun of itself. And, you know, Lego does that the best, but I think Detours was going to give it a run for its money. I mean, it was getting like Robot Chicken level of mature humor.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was some really, I know that, you know, some people don't like, you know, comedy in their Star Wars, but like go back and watch the old trailers for Detours. It was just such a funny fucking idea.
The animation was cool, right? It was all that chibbed out animation.
Chibi style, like super funny animation, man. Like I would love something like that. And given those two guys' backgrounds, like that seems to be right up their alley. Yeah. And, you know, I really do hope that they revive some sort of project, and that it doesn't exactly have to be Detours, but like I hope they revive something in that arena, and that you can have a little bit more levity, like a show that is completely dedicated to just like lampooning and spoofing the obvious funny shit that happens in Star Wars.
I'm down, man. I think
that there's benefit.
That would definitely probably bring out the pitchforks, but I'm all for it. Look what you're doing. Star Wars is serious. It's life. I'm getting into some weird things with serious life and Star Wars. Like my kid's getting to an age where, you know, full in on the Santa stuff, but it also buys into like, if I'm bad, Santa's gonna hate me, and
not gonna.
Like Santa's almost become a god to her. And then I don't go to church anymore. I don't really believe in a mystical being anymore. But I as a parent, I am at a crossroads. Like, where do I go here? Do I? And the reason this ties into Star Wars, when she's like, yeah, Daddy, you know, Santa, and you got to be good. He's watching. I'm like, well, you know, Daddy believes in the Force and the universe. And, you know, as long as Daddy is being good and positive, then, you know, the universe will treat him in kind. But I don't know where I'm going to go with that, because I'm like you. I'm a Catholic bunker kid that was gaslit until I was like 20. And I mean, I do think parts of it were good, because as a kid I was scared shitless of God killing me if I did bad stuff, because in Catholicism you're taught you fuck up, you're gonna get punished. You fuck up, you get punished. You fuck up, you get punished. And anytime I got punished, I was like, well, I must have fucked up. And it works you over. Lots of internal guilt. Like a lot of people that are old and have mental problems were probably Catholics, more than likely.
Yeah.
But I don't know where to go with this stuff. Like, you know, we're eventually going to have the Santa talk, but then what about Jesus and God? I'm like, I just keep trying to push the Force in the universe, because that's something that is, the Force is a religion, even if you take it beyond Star Wars. Like there are forces out there. There is the you know, you got these the universe, like I say, they're the ether. We're all connected. We all share something. We all have midichlorians, however you want to call it. That's how I kind of process spirituality at this point in time in my life. But for a little one, it's hard. Like, where do we go here? Do I send her to CCD and have her fucked up in the head for many years, or do I just try to tell her, you know, do do the right thing. That's why God was invented in the first place, because humans are animals, males in particular, and couldn't control ourselves. So we had to invent a God that like, listen, if you go around and rape motherfuckers nonstop, this God is going to burn you in a pit of hell for the rest of your life. And they're like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I mean,
humanity's like, figured out some things by now. We know some things at this point.
We've already figured out that like if we ever have a child, that there will be no religious,
I can't do
institution put on it during its upbringing. You know, if I am of the mind that if you want to be a religious person, you have every right to be a religious person. I'm never going to tell you not to be a religious person, but I also don't like it being forced onto people.
Yes.
So it's like if you choose to come to that on your own and you find religion on your own, totally fine. But I'm not gonna voice that.
I think that's where I'm at. But it's like I said, it's this. How do you balance the Santa magic with just be a good person, because
the Santa thing is literally like just be good. You don't have to worry. Like if you're being nice to people,
that's essentially what God is too. It's like there's a big mystical being that you can't see. He's gonna fuck you up if you're bad. That's Santa to kids, but where do we go from here? And using the Force, there's no fear factor with the Force. So maybe I'll just, tell her that she'll die in her sleep if she's bad or something. Like Darth Vader will choke her out, Force choke her.
Also, if she was like me, she'll find out from somebody else or an older cousin that Santa's not real before you ever get to have that conversation.
Sadly, that's going to be the case, and it breaks my heart because that's our only kid, and this Christmas was so much fun because of how much she buys into the magic, dude. I mean, we got this. I'll have to send you the video once we're done here, but she just generally asked Santa for a telescope. It wasn't in her top list. It was like back in the book, so she wasn't even expecting to get it. And we're going through the presents, and it's getting towards the end. I'm like, hey, go check out that one. She opens it. I'm like, oh, what's this? It says Star Sense. I was like, what the hell is Star Sense? Why would Santa get us something that says Star Sense? And she's looking, and you could see in her head, she made the connection. She's like, telescope! It's the telescope! I put that on my list! Dad, look, I put it on my list! He got it! He got the I mean, I almost started crying just seeing the fucking the reaction. And it's awesome, but like you said, most of the friends on the street are 2 grades or up. Third graders, fourth graders. She's going to get fucking destroyed in another year, and she's going to lose herself.
Yeah, once they get into 5th, 6th grade, it's over. It's over.
Just it sucks because like she's so fucking into it, and I know these older girls are going to fucking, because people are mean, especially little girls. She might say one thing that annoys them. They'll just be like, "Hey, Charlie, fuck you. Santa's not real.
Santa's not real. Like,
go fuck yourself. Your parents are lying to you." So. Oh, well, we'll see. I'll do my best to deflect and all that. That's why I was so upset that Heather got the fucking elf, because that's just another thing that can allow the magic to die quicker, because you got to, if it didn't move one night, so she comes in my room like, Dad, the elf didn't move. Oh, I must have touched it. I'm like, look what you're doing to our fucking kid.
Like, oops,
you're gaslighting her over.
You're
gaslighting her over a fucking puppet because you forgot to move it. Now our kid thinks she did something bad and robbed the magic from the elf. Like, how fucked up are we as consumers that Santa wasn't enough? Now we got to do these fucking elves are keeping tabs on kids. Sorry. All right, major tangent. Hopefully no kids were listening. Military. 1/6 must be behind. Military background. I think he got more confident in his position after the Death Star blew up. Oh, yeah, he is. I think he's back there. I think he's back on our Tarkin segment. All right, let's get the show back on the rails. We've covered all those rumor type of things. And Joe is right. The elf, that's parent punishment. You're exactly right. I was like, why the fuck would you do this? Well, all their friends talk about it. Like, who they're going to be the ones ruin it in another year or so. Fuck them. Okay. Last little topic we have here. I didn't even post it because I don't even really know how much we can riff on here. But there was a brief bit of news on Ubisoft's Star Wars game that again is being developed by Massive, and Nick's already laughing here. But I think where the news in this post comes from, this insider gaming and what they're telling us the game is going to be about or similar to, Nick, because I don't think Ubisoft or anyone has commented on this. So really,
I think this was the one that we actually heard about last year at some point. They have added some details, but yeah.
It's a real thing. And I went back and looked. I think this got announced like a year ago, this Ubisoft Star Wars open world game from Massive. And this Julian Garridy just this week or last week, the 1st, was essentially like, hey, Happy New Year to you all. 2023 is going to be huge for us. Join the adventure of Massive Star Wars. Essentially implying that we're finally going to get some concrete details on this open world game. But Nick, I think the hype around this story and the reason why we're talking about it is because they're saying that this Ubisoft Star Wars game, okay, it's going to be fully open, seamless universe, but they're saying it's going to be similar to like a No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
And I'm like, I don't think I want that for an open world.
Yeah,
like a procedurally generated Star Wars game. I don't think I want that.
Yeah, I wonder if they're referencing No Man's Sky in terms of like the scope. Because like you said, like if you've never played No Man's Sky is like essentially like an infinite exploration game where like you start off on a planet, you can, then you find a spaceship and, you can fly around the galaxy and land on any planet that you find. And like you said, it's all procedurally generated. I hope it's not the procedurally generated part of it, but I wouldn't be upset if it is like, does have like a very large scope where there are many planets that you can visit and that you have and you're not kind of bound by like linear storytelling, kind of how you were in Jedi Fallen Order, where it's like, okay, you go to this planet, you play all the story missions, then you go to this planet, then you go to this planet, then you go to this planet. I would be okay if it was kind of like more open exploration, but there was still a story-driven narrative that like takes you places, and then you can choose to go elsewhere from there. But I agree with you that like a fully procedurally generated Star Wars game that's just you going to different planets and like, let me land on this planet and see what's going on with no actual direction may be a little too much. And I think that No Man's Sky is the perfect example of why that may be too much, because No Man's Sky released like 8 years ago. It released in like 2016. No, like 2016, I think.
Easily.
2016
it might have been before that.
And the game just became like this massive success.
Yeah, I was going to say,
like
it just
year.
now people like it. Like they fixed it,
and
it's finally doing what they sold everyone on back at E3 when they announced it. Like it's finally that game.
Yeah, like it took 6 years to get to the point where this game is finally like everything that they wanted it to be. And if that's what they're aiming for Star Wars, is like, I'm going to release this game.
I need structure. Like I need some, I do like, I mean, here are games that Star Wars should be modeled after. Like Tones, Red Dead for a Mandalorian game, 100%. Red Dead or like a GTA or even like a Cyberpunk. That'd be perfect for the Mandalorian. For a game like this where you can span different systems, think Mass Effect 3, right, Nick? You pull up the star map. You have multiple missions. You can do a main mission if you want. You can do a side mission if you want. You can do another side mission if you want. You can eventually get to the main missions, and depending on the choices you make in that main mission, it could affect other main missions or side missions. That seems like a no-brainer for Star Wars, especially the Mass Effect 3. You have your own ship. You plot your own course. There is an overarching narrative, but for the most part, you make your character who you want it to be in terms of love interest and party members and dark or light. You choose how you go through the campaign for the most part. I mean, you have to hit some of the main missions to kick off the next script. But you could spend 20 hours just gallivanting around the galaxy, collecting resources and fighting goons before you move on to another mission. And that's what it sounds like this game... It wants to be something like that, but I fear it wants to be too big, maybe. Because I felt like I just got done with Mass Effect 3 a few months ago. And even then, I still felt like that was a pretty damn big map. I think there was 20, 30 planets you could go to and dick around.
Yeah, it was very like that game was like after they again like Mass Effect 3 was another game where they had to go back and like fix it after release. But like the final version of Mass Effect 3 was actually a very enjoyable game. Like, and I think that something like that would be a really good way to do it. The other way that I could look at it is like, think of like Elder Scrolls games. Like, think of Skyrim, except instead of being like, oh, you're in, whatever, Winterhold, or you're in Westrun, or you're in these different cities, like those are all different planets, like,
right.
And like you said, you have like an overarching narrative, but you have so many like planetary missions that you can do that can affect the way that the overarching story narrative plays out. Like like that would be perfect. But if the idea is literally just to have a sandbox that has no overarching narrative to it, and like you're just going around and exploring and doing different things on planets, I think that is missing the point of Star Wars, because Star Wars has always been something that's driven by narrative. And I think that is an essential point to a successful
Do you like games
Star
like
Wars
that
game.
then? I mean, would a No Man's Sky interest you, or like survival games where you have to collect resources during the day and then build shelter? I'm not shitting on the people that like this type of gameplay. If I don't have a directive or an objective, I become very uninterested very quickly in games these days.
No, I'm the same way. Like I like to have like a driving narrative to like push me on my way throughout the game. Like I don't mind. Like I bought No Man's Sky right when it came out, and I played it. I played it for probably 10 hours before I was like, is this all you do? Is you just fly from planet to planet?
You literally would just collect resources and scan shit, and then go to like a hangar somewhere and possibly upgrade this or that.
Go somewhere else.
This is stupid.
So I hope it's not that. I hope that what they mean by No Man's Sky is very expansive world
size.
To explore. But not.
No, you're right. Like we can't.
Same
with the other big game that Quantic Dream's working on. Like they can't get too cute with like, we'll just tell them the size, the biggest game ever. Like who gives a fuck? Size shouldn't matter if you have a good story. And Star Wars, as Nick said, is one franchise where you do need a great story to justify playing through a video game, because we haven't had that. I mean, I know you all love your Fallen Order, but I don't think that was a great story. I don't think Cal was a great character that we could latch onto. Maybe he's a lot more excited now that he's a little more hard edge 5 years later. I'll reserve judgment from when I play the game. But Nick, I can't. It's still KOTOR, is it not?
Yeah, KOTOR is probably the best
and
one.
We're talking
best narrative Star Wars
20 years at this point. Like,
yeah, I mean,
what are we doing here?
I don't even think it's particularly close.
What the fuck are we doing?
KOTOR is like by far and away the best narrative Star Wars game. Probably the best Star Wars
even
game
those
ever.
little like Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy, they even had good little stories.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like those had good stories, and those were probably only 20, 30, hour games that you would play, so you didn't have to put in 70, 80 hours like you did in KOTOR. But like stuff like that is totally fine. Like stuff like that, like you don't need to have something that's like super expansive. Like you can just tell good story in a 20, 30 hour type of game.
I feel a lot of devs and pubs these days, they know what makes a buck, and that's what they go for. So it'll be, NFT this or Battle Royale that, or hey, look, we can generate worlds with 10,000 units in the snap of a finger. If you're on the Xbox Series, it's like, I don't care. When it comes to a Star Wars game, I just want that damn story, please. That's it. That's why I'm here. That's why I've signed up for Star Wars time. It's never been the laser swords and the blaster bolts. It's the fucking story. I've said it a million times. I could watch stick figures. As long as the story's there, I'll take it. But for some reason in the video game universe, it's just it's like the impossible dream at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. There's a lot of, well, I don't know now. I mean, like I was going to say, like there's a lot of good studios out there that make good story-driven games, but I mean, like,
yet Sony owns them all. That's a fucking problem.
I would say there honestly isn't.
Sony owns them all at this
there's
point.
There's not that many.
I mean, dude, that
Studio.
Marvel Midnight Suns. I'm still playing it. Great little story. I mean, I don't know a lot about the Marvel Mystic verse with Strange and Lilith and Wanda, and I'm getting a heavy dose of that with the witches Agatha and Sarah. I love it, and it's like, I wouldn't say the game itself is revolutionary. It's like a card-based RTS with some exploration added to it, but it's got a story, so it keeps me wanting to play it every day, and that's Marvel. Something I don't want to say I give two shits about, but Marvel is way, way, way down the fucking totem pole when it comes to things, fake things that I choose to waste my life essence on. I mean, Star Wars is way up here. Marvel's way down low. And I can get in that type of stuff. So you give me a Star Wars game where I just have to hit like the A button nonstop. As long as the story's good, let's go. They can't do it, though. They can't fucking... And everyone in the chat, you all have... I mean, yes, we want that too. We want Red Dead Star Wars. 100%. I want Mass Effect Star Wars. It's just weird that they will not just take one of these models that works, is great, it's fun, and just skin it with Star Wars. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, for a while, I think they were handcuffed by EA, and I think that the EA deal was a bad deal overall. It seemed like EA felt like they were handcuffed by Lucas, and then Lucasfilm felt like they were handcuffed by EA. Now, I really do hope that now the license is open, and that it's just basically pitch us a Star Wars game. If we like it, you can make it. Then better stuff will come. But I do feel like overall the EA deal was a bad deal, and it screwed up Star Wars video game land for essentially a decade. So
it's like, how does that happen though? Like, how did Disney and Lucasfilm, LucasArts not have language in this deal that said, you need to make X amount of games over X amount of years, we get final approval, so on and so forth? It really is like, Nick, it's like, oh, we just spent $4.6 billion. Let's put all our focus on the movies, and who gives a shit about all the other stuff that George had his hooks in, and we'll just like piecemeal auction off the corpse of Lucas's ideas and the video game wing to all these other publishers, and they can deal with it for a few years while we focus on the movies.
The funny thing is at the time when the EA deal went down, I was so excited because that was right before EA turned into a complete disaster.
Well, yeah, they were a huge pub and developer at that time, and they were in charge of some of the most enjoyable
games,
franchises under the sun.
I mean, that's when Battlefield was seriously nipping at Call of Duty's heels in terms of game quality and enjoyability. And like, people were starting to be like, hey, maybe Battlefield is like the new modern shooter out, and it's taken over Call of Duty. Then Battlefield fucking nosedives. That's when BioWare was still like, you're coming off of Dragon Age Inquisition, which a lot of people like loved, won Game of the Year and stuff like that. Then BioWare fucking nosedived into nothingness. And then, I mean, you also had like studios like Visceral. Visceral was supposed to make one. That was the Dead Space developer. Visceral gets fucking shut down. So like right after this Star Wars deal goes down with EA literally turns into a dumpster fire. Yeah. So it was hard because I was like, DICE is the perfect studio to make Battlefront. They made 2 Battlefront games that were middling to okay. I was like, you now have BioWare who made KOTOR, the first KOTOR game. They can do it again. BioWare doesn't even touch Star Wars outside of what they were already doing with Star Wars: The Old Republic MMO. Visceral shutters. They can't make a Star Wars game. And then you're left in this burning husk of EA that has no developers left that want to touch Star Wars. Like, it was a fucking disaster.
It didn't go well.
Yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable how that all went down.
I can't talk too much shit, though, because they did give me Swago. Like, that's the one thing EA produced with their license, and I've been playing that game daily for 7 years. It came out in 2015, still going, so... Yeah, it's a bummer, but hopefully this tweet from Ubisoft means that within the next quarter or so, we get some concrete information on this game that Ubisoft is publishing and Massive is developing. Massive, most recently, they're the Division people, so they can work with big and bad
open environment.
But yeah, we need to see something, because now we're just pulling shit out of our asses and getting angry, and rightly so. We should be angry as gamers, because the Star Wars franchise has been abused. Okay.
It really has.
All right.
It really has.
Well, what do we got here on the clock? 141.
We're at about 100
Hey, you got
minutes.
the deck of cards with you? You got the Mando cards within reach? If not, it's no big deal.
We can, yeah, they're close, so we can do a quick Mando game.
Hey, let's do it. Why
here.
not? We'll get the first Mando game of the year. We got a few minutes we can add in here before we get to the fan segment. If you're new here, Nick has a Mandalorian trivia game he got from Amazon, I believe. And he asked me 5 questions. He asked me the harder of the questions. And I do have a lifeline. I can't ask for the multiple choice choices if I can't just get it off the top of my head.
Indeed. So I have 5 questions that I will ask.
Here we go.
you.
My pits have been sweating all
say
show.
that-
They're getting really sweaty now, though. Here we go.
So, first question here. For those of you who are interested in this game, you can go to Amazon and you type in Star Wars Mandalorian Trivia Game. For those on the live stream, this is what the cards look like. So, here we go.
Okay.
What do the Jawas tell the Mandalorian that he sounds like?
Oh, shit.
This is a hard one. This is a hard one. Because this was season 1.
Yeah, I mean, I got
long.
the exact scene in my head. He's trying to get the Razor Crest parts back, and he ends up, shooting his flame at him. What does he sound like? You know what? I'm going to have to take my medicine and ask for the multiple choice, because last time I just blurted something out and took a complete loss. So I'll take the negative point and ask for the multiple choice.
All right. So now for 1 point instead of 2. The choices are a Jawa, a Gungan, or a Wookiee. What do the Jawas tell
I'm going to go with
Mandalorian
Wookiee,
that
I
he
think,
sounds
then.
like? Correct. 1 point for Matt.
Damn it. You might be able to play along in the chat, because I think you're still on a delay. But yeah, if I'm struggling, don't chime in too quickly.
Yes. Hold
All
your
right, I'll take it. I mean, I am only one of 2 possible points. I'm already a failure for this version of the Mando game, but let's go on. What's question 2?
All right. Question 2. What large creatures burst from under the ice to attack the Razor Crest?
I mean, I don't know the official name, but they were... Oh, shit. Are we talking season 2 or season 1?
I mean, yeah, I mean, because they were technically
if it's from under the ice, then we're talking S1, E1, like literally the first few scenes we meet Din.
Exactly.
But the name of that fucking thing, I don't know. I'm gonna have to fucking take another loss here. Multiple choice.
Multiple choice. Is it Eopes?
It's definitely not that. That's
Eopes.
Kenobi's mount.
Ravanax, Ravinaks, or Crate Dragons?
It's a Ravanac
I
then.
think that you can, yes, correct. It is Ravanax.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a good.
Now I'm
process
only
of elimination.
2 out of possible 4 points. This is a complete fucking fail. I look like a putz.
A disaster.
Let's go.
Okay.
Ravanac.
This one's. I feel like you're gonna nail this one right off the bat.
Now you set me up. Go ahead.
This one's easy.
No.
What creatures does Kuil say the Mandalorian's ancestors rode?
Mythosaur.
Correct.
Yay!
2 points for Matt.
Hey, finally.
2 points for Matt.
I used to be a Star Wars scholar. Yeah.
Question number 4. This is a true or false question.
Okay, 50-50.
True or false? Mandalorians are a race. Now this is actually tricky because of everything. involved in Star Wars.
Oh man, well, there's one real answer, and it's false.
You are correct.
Yeah, they're
false. They are a creed.
There we go. Okay, good. I was gonna say because you could really get squirrely with that if you want to, because I mean, they're technically it is a race because there's a planet called Mandalore and there are humanoids on it called Mandalorians. But in terms of how they go through life, it's a creed.
Yes, indeed. All right,
dickheads. All right, go ahead.
Correct.
Last one.
And then the final question, it says, what is the one thing the Darksaber cannot cut?
Beskar.
Yes, correct. Your Beskar. So 8 out of a possible 10 points for Matt.
Damn, what a fail.
In the Matt Mando game.
What a fail.
Couple of questions.
That's still a B, man. Right, I mean, that's only 80%.
That is 80%,
Shit.
and we're on a 10-point scale here on the Star Wars
time. I strive for perfection. No! And I just threw the Emperor down a shaft. Hey, I like that. It's all good. Everyone, hey, Nick, he's the game master. He needs to challenge me. I got to get better. All right. I mean, I just had a bad week.
Hey, some of those were tough.
I guess my gray matter has cleared out some of the useless Star Wars information I had stored in there, and it was a rough week. What can I say? 80%. Not proud of it, but I will. I'll do better. I'll look at the tape, and I'll make adjustments and do better next time. Thank you.
Indeed. He'll come back stronger like he always
Fuck, that was a piss poor showing, but oh well, it's always fun. Always fun, but you know what? You know what's fun, Nick? You know what's fun on the Star Wars Time Show? That is the fan segment. It is a blast. Let me tell you, we do it every week right here on the SWTS, the only Star Wars podcast to dedicate a segment to its fans, few of the fans, every week. So we do this 2 parts, question of the week. You can get involved in question of the week by going to Instagram on Tuesdays at Star Wars Time Show. Look in our stories, look in the profile, and you should see the prompt this week. And really, until April, the prompt's going to be pretty easy, essentially saying, did you or didn't you like new Star Wars? Okay? And then we also have the top 5, but we'll talk about that later. All right, so Nick, the question of the week this week, which, see, we were able to salvage a little bit of Bad Batch talk from last week for this week in the question of the week, because obviously I couldn't ask them what their favorite part of the premiere was, because I think I asked them what their favorite character was, something stupid like that. But anyways, we're here. We're touching back on the Bad Batch Season 2 premiere. We asked the fans, what was your favorite or least favorite part? And this is what they had to say. Nick, I'm going to let you drive on this one since they were all story posts.
They're all comments. Yes, we have profile posts. We had 6 answers to this question, so I grabbed all of them. First up for our answer to what was your favorite or least favorite part to Bad Batch S2 premiere. Scion XTC says, definitely have to go with Wrecker becoming a human tank and having a blast. See what I did there? Having a blast doing it. So
I hope Scion's all right. I haven't heard from him in a minute in like Discord or what. I guess he did show up in the Discord, but it's always good to see from Scion.
Here we go. Scion's been a longtime fan. Glad to see him popping in for the response for the week. So yes, Wrecker going full tank, says Scion. Next up, Padfoot816, I believe this is the first time that they've been included in the fan segment, says, I liked how Omega wanted to help the others by getting the valuables from the war chest, and Echo saying that he would have made the choice to take Omega from Kamino. Good character.
I wonder if Padfoot is related to the Harfoots.
Maybe they are the next evolution that we see in Rings of Power.
They'll eventually turn into Tukes.
The Tukes and the
Bagginses.
What is it? Proud feet?
Yeah, the Proudfoots.
Star Wars Black Series clip says, I kind of like the whole container re-entry sequence and aftermath. Genius escape.
Hey, look at that! Someone picked something beyond tank scene. Way to go!
Indeed. So Mimbon Survivor says, agree with at 2797_studios, who we will get to soon.
Well, shit. Spoiler
the tank
alert.
scene was awesome.
Spoiler alert.
Indeed. The tank scene was awesome. So a lot of love for the tank scene so far. Next up, Tones1138, our good buddy. He says, seeing the gang back in action and the awesome nod to Indy Jones and The Last Crusade near the end of episode 2 with the Let It Go scene. Yes, that is very, like, I love Last Crusade. I think that's my favorite Indy movie, and I know that that's blasphemous to some people. Some people are like Raiders or nothing. But
I'm with you, man. Him and Sean Connery, that is just, it's fantastic.
It was incredible interplay between those two, and yes, that moment at the end where the temple is falling apart, right. the Holy Grail falls into it, and Indy is trying to save it right after somebody has already fallen in the pit to their death, and his father is like, Indiana, let it go.
I'm getting ready. I have not done an Indy rewatch in a long time, and I think Charlie is just about at the age where I think she could get into it. Like, she liked National Treasure. She likes that type of shit. So. Yeah.
I will say maybe skip Temple of Doom for her, because that is super. Eating monkey brains.
That scene right there.
Chest.
Nick, you're not wrong, because when I was little and I watched that, I'm like, oh sweet, a new Indiana Jones. I was like, all right, and then they get to that scene, they're like cracking monkey skull heads open and eating their brains. I was like, what the fuck? And then the heart rip and eat. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And I think it's rated, I think it's rated PG.
PG-13. It is. Or is it PG?
I think the first one's PG.
Fucking wild. That's fucking wild if that's PG. But yeah, I mean, like, I love Indy. Indy has always been a favorite series. And hey, I'm looking forward to Indy 5. As many people out there are saying that, what the fuck is Harrison Ford doing? He's almost in his 80s. Why is he still playing Indiana Jones? I'll take Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford until he fucking croaks on the set. So, like, I just love his portrayal. He is 80. He's 80 years old.
No, it's great.
And he's still out there.
I don't know. Like, I feel like my kid she can handle it. Cause dude, she got through Wednesday with the hide and all that shit, and no nightmares. No, oh daddy, I'm scared. She's like, hey, I had a dream about that thing and it kind of freaked me out. I was like, well, you didn't come get me up, so I guess we'll keep letting you watch it. Fuck it.
Yeah, so hey.
But you do, like, some movies, you're like, oh, it's PG, it's from the 80s, you put it on, and then, like, some of the language that comes out, they're like, I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, it's like, God damn, the 80s just let everything
Oh, dude,
go.
we watched Lampoon's Vacation, like, not Christmas Vacation, but just Vacation. I forgot about that, and they get... They're in like the inner city, and they're driving a car. The black guys pull them over, and they steal all their hubcaps, and then eventually Clark, he's just getting nuts, and he looks to his family. He's like, something like, what's your fucking malfunction? He's just yelling at his family. It's like something I would do to my family if I was Clark and went through all the bullshit he went through. But the language and some of the scenarios in Vacation is like, probably shouldn't have had an almost 7-year-old watching that shit.
Yeah, watching this. She goes back to school and starts mimicking.
There's a scene, man, where Chevy just lights into his family. He's like, what the fuck's wrong with you people? Something like that. Okay.
Yeah, 80s were a wild time.
Yeah, wow.
All right.
Did a number on me. I'm all right. Go ahead.
Last one for the question of the week. And this is from 2797_studios, Bat in the chat. And he says, gotta say my favorite part of the Bad Batch premiere was Wrecker becoming a tank. Probably the most fun moment of the 2-episode premiere. It was great to see the team back in action, but Wrecker always makes me smile. So there we go. There's the reference that Mimban Survivor was making.
It's always fun. It's weird. Like today, most of the people or some of the people are like 2 segments back. 16ers in here, like, further adventures of the Ghost Crew. Yeah, I'm behind. Sorry. Like, I just figured, I was like, wait, did Trevor have a stroke? But no, he's watching the
delayed.
Yeah, he must be on the Ghost Track 17 topic. So
yeah, exactly.
I love it. Exactly. I love you, Trevor. All right. Whew. Fuck.
All right. That moves us into
what does it do?
The final segment of this podcast and the second segment of our fan segment. That is the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. To get involved in this segment, make sure to tag us, add tag on your posts on Instagram, Star Wars Time Show, at Star Wars Time Show in your in your post, and then go ahead and throw the hashtag Star Wars Time Show on there as well. Do all of those things, and you will get in front of the eyes of the Master Matt.
That's me.
And he will pick his favorites from those tags throughout the week. And then at the end of the week on Monday, I will come together, sit down, view all of the images that Matt picked out, and I will pick the top 5 from that week.
Remind you, this is after he came.
This is done.
Right? Nick said on Monday he's going to come, and then he sits down and makes all his picks. So what he's telling
I'm
you,
in a clear state of mind.
I was going to say, he makes sure to get the poison out, so he's thinking clearly to make his top 5 pick.
Exactly. That's how it works.
All right. Who we got?
This week's top 5 kicks off with @toy_collector81.
Sounds like a new one, huh?
And yeah, this is a first time top 5er here. And what we have here is an awesome shot of Vader with some stormtroopers in the back. They're standing on what looks like a ridge line, like a mountain ridge line, looking over down onto a potential area of interest for them. And off in the background, you have like a nice little sunset going on there. I love the posing. I love the way that he's captured Vader's kind of angry visage as he stands there.
I mean, anytime you get the Dark
the
Lord and then he's flanked by his flunkies, it's a very appealing looking aesthetic. And to kind of loop this back into our Mando topic, think of this, but with Gideon kind of being at the forefront and his new armor and his little horned helmet, and then those red guards behind him. Like that's kind of what I'm envisioning. We're going to get something like that. Like, one of those dun, dun, where he walks out, he's like, pah, pah, and then all the guys are behind him. We got a big fight going on. But yeah, these are all, Nick, I believe these are Figure Arts Star Wars figures. So this is a pricey shot unless this person lives over in Japan, because to get these Figure Arts over here in the States usually costs you $70 to $100. But yeah,
very
I mean,
expensive setup.
It's good looking Vader. He's got a little bit of a Hulk pose going on. And if these are Figure Arts troopers, as I think they are, they're some of the best looking 1/12 scale stormtroopers out there. So
they
good
look
stuff
fantastic.
here from toy_collector81 on Instagram.
Indeed. Next up, not a toy shot, but this is a fantastic rendering from both Gilles GFX and Render Driver, and they put together an awesome 2023 Star Wars poster that features all of the content that we should be getting in 2023. We see a shot of Cal Kestis right in the front. You see Omega and the Bad Batch off to the side. You see the Mandalorian right in the middle with Grogu. You see Jude Law and the Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka. You see Liam, what's his name? Liam Skarsgård. I can't remember his actual name, but the guy. So the guy who's playing Thrawn, and then
Lars Mikkelsen.
Lars Mikkelsen. That's what.
Yeah, Hemsworth is playing Geralt.
Yes, he's playing the new Geralt. Not Liam. Lars Mikkelsen. Thank you, Matt.
But hey, it is another family that has a lot of people in show business.
They do have a lot of people. They do have a lot of people in show business for sure. And then caps it off with Anakin Skywalker up at the top there. And then remiss for me not to mention the Ghost Crew on there as well.
I think
for the
that's what and the reason they did this, Nick, because at the end of the year they did like a 2022 recap poster and it fucking exploded like across the Star Wars internet. I mean, Star Wars Theory was talking about it. I mean, it was huge. So I think these artists were like, hey, fuck it, let's try to capitalize.
Let's do it again.
But I like how they kind of use their artistic vision to bring to life the supposed live action versions of Ezra, Hera, and Sabine. I mean, we know Natasha Liu Bordizzo is playing Sabine, but we don't know for sure if Amon Esfandi's playing Ezra and if Mary Winstead is playing Hera, but they style that way so we can kind of get that look. Just like, I mean, MSW is saying Lars Mikkelsen is going to be live action Thrawn, so that probably is legit. But it's nice seeing these photoshoppers kind of give us idiots a preview of what it could look like.
A sneak peek. So yeah, that was an awesome little poster there put together by @Gilles GFX and @RenderDriver on Instagram. Good job.
That's a hell of a pronunciation. I was going to go with Gilly.
Yeah, I would say Guiil.
You remember Street Fighter when you were little? Did you call Gilly Guile?
Guile,
right? Like
I called him. Guile.
I want Guile, dude. I got Guile. Sonic Boom. Yeah, no, it's good shit. Good shit.
All right, next up for the top 5 is @AFOL _for life. And this is another first time top 5er here. And this is an absolutely awesome Lego shot here. What we see here are a bunch of Phase 1 clones, Finn clones, out in a snowstorm. And they're definitely like on a mission going somewhere in the middle of a blizzard. They're wearing their snow coats. They have their hoods up. They got their guns at the ready.
Hoods just do it for me. I don't know what it is. Like I hate saying, clones look cute and cuddly, but they really do. Like there's something. I want to take all these little Phase 1 clones home and give them like a warm fire to sit by and give them something to eat. There's just something about this shot where and I hate to say it, they're cute little clones.
They are, and like the level of detail too. You can see that AFOL for life like stacked up some powder on these like soft goods cloaks that these guys are wearing to like sell the snowstorm even more. Just fantastic setup all around by AFOL to really sell the snowy environment that these clones are trekking through.
Speaking of clones, like a gun to your head, what's your favorite clone helmet? Like the Phase 1 Finn or more of the Stormtrooper-esque Phase 2 and 3?
I like the Phase 1 Finn clone helmets. I think that those look the most original. And I think it also like it maintains some of that, like it maintains a lot more of that Mandalorian feel than like later generations do. And I really do.
Yeah,
like
George was like,
so.
Fuck it. Let's push them right towards the Stormtroopers by the next movie. Who cares?
Yeah. It's like, now it'll be super obvious that they're going to become stormtroopers.
Right.
But that's
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, good stuff. @AFOL _for life on Instagram.
Hey, props. When you get confirmations or early leads like that, you know who to come to first, right, pal? Wink, wink.
wink. Slide in the DMs.
Exactly.
We're always waiting.
I need a source.
Next up in the top 5.
How about this? I was wondering what you would do with this because he actually spoiled this last week on the stream. He's like, "Oh, I got into I did some Hot Toys photography, and lo and behold, he sure as shit did." So, and here you go.
Sure as shit did.
You united him. Go ahead.
He did it well.
Give it to him.
This is @super_scoundrel, and for those of you who are longtime listeners of the show, you're like, "Oh, it's another one of Super Scoundrel's art pieces, another one of Devin's vector art pieces," but it is not. Like Matt said, this is a hot toy shot. This is an actual toy shot from Super Scoundrel, and for a first go at it, he did a fantastic job. So what we see here is Din Djarin, Mando, and Grogu making their way through. This almost looks like the prison from season 1, but I don't believe that it is. But I think it's the it's like the hallway in the light cruiser.
Let's just say it didn't take
2.
Devin long to figure out how to do Digirama well, like blending it all. I think when I saw it as Star Wars Time Show, I commented like, you're cheating, Photoshop, or if something like that. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Look at you're cheating with your Photoshop skills. But I'm just busting his balls.
But he nailed it. So yeah, he's got Grogu and Din making their way down the light cruiser hallway from season 2 of Mandalorian, and there's a ping of a laser bolt shooting or deflecting off. That's
Nick's favorite.
Mando's
Nick loves
shoulder
when
guard.
Din becomes a bullet reflector. That is Nick's favorite.
Bullet sponge.
Yeah. Guys, remember what was that one time? He like almost pissed you off. He just like went out there and ate a bunch of bullets, and
he literally it was the scene where they were like where they were with the Night Owls. They were taking a light cruiser
Oh yeah.
That was
with
under
Bo and them.
Imperial control. And then like he's holding all these grenades,
Right.
and instead of just throwing the grenades,
he steps
at
out into the line
Imperials,
of fire.
just fucking boom, 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 just takes all these shots. And I was like, dude, you're holding 15 grenades in your hand. Just throw them down the hallway. Like, what are you doing?
You know what's
This
funny
made
though?
no sense.
Like, and it happens to the best of you. But this was Devin's first hot toy, and he's already going down the rabbit hole. Like, oh, I need to order this. I need to order that. He's like, oh shit, Rogue One. I want those. I'm like, buddy, you understand with hot toys, once they're gone, and you're gonna be paying eBay black market, like Jin so all of them. Because during my recent rewatch of the saga, I was really like, you know what? I fucking need those TFA. I want Scavenger Ray, I want Island Journey Ray, and I want Luke and his Jedi tunics. Because I wasn't collecting hot toys when that movie was out, not until TLJ. But you go look for them now, my man. I mean, no, I can't. And I always told myself, no. If you don't get it right from Sideshow or when it releases, you're not allowed to go and overpay on eBay. But it's once you get one of these dolls in your hands, I'm telling you, there's some sort of juju on them where they take over your soul, and they're like, buy more. You got to get the full wave. They're toys. Look how good they look. You got to have friends for them to play with. And then you end up like me, where you have essentially full on cars, first year of school, shit like that laying in your basement. So have fun with that, Devin. Good luck. But you made the top 5.
This is his first step on his Hot Toys journey, so we'll see where he goes.
There we go. Look,
we'll be watching your career with great interest.
He already bought Bo-Katan and the Death Trooper, so it's going. It's already started. It happened to Tones. It happened to me. I mean, we all should have listened to the godfather of collecting the Barbies, which is Trevor, 1/6 shooter. It really is. It's like a sickness. I've completely cut myself of the 112. I think I'm fully done with that. But hell, last week, right, friends, what did we get? General Kenobi Hot Toys. Okay, pre-order, add it to the list. That makes 19 that still need to be shipped to my house. But anyways, back to the top 5.
Back to the top 5 and the
close
out the top 5.
Hey, Devin, are you now wishing that you got the Mandalorian coming out like these days with the shiny helmet and the Pedro head? Because I sure as fuck am. But I can't justify buying another full Beskar Mando 1/6 scale. But Nick, I need it. You should see, everyone's posting it. You got Pedro's face now. You got an actual shiny helmet now, not that doll looking plastic one, right? I need it, right?
Now that I'm like DMing and I'm like playing D&D with my friends, I do have a sickness. I do have one of those things where I have to like stop myself, and it's dice.
Really?
It's dice. Like
just
like so like
collecting them, or
the whole time that
like
like I collect because I use a shitload of dice. Like as a player and as a DM, like you're rolling dice all the time, and now like you see all of these cool, like this one. I've been rolling this since I picked up my tray. I'm holding this up for the live stream to see. It's hard to see.
It's like
but
a see-through die, huh?
It's a hollow metal dice, and it has dragon designs all over it. It's very hard to see. But like that's my new sickness, because you can buy like a full pack of polyhedral dice that have all of like, you know, a
welcome to the club.
D20 like this one. But you can buy a pack of dice for like $8.
Well,
and I'm like, oh well, I'll just buy dice all the time.
At least you picked an obsession that isn't super costly. You know, these fucking 1/6 things, man, it gets worse and worse. Like these days, they're pretty much $280 plus just for a basic figure. So, yikes! Yeah, Toy Visuals, they know what I'm talking about. Tones, where'd you pick up the new head? Sorry, I'm having my own show at this point. Tones, send me a DM or put it in Discord. Where did you get the new head, and how much was it? Because I figured some people were probably piecemealing the new Mando, Nick, like opening it up and selling the accessories off at a premium. And that might be a way to, damn, 55 pounds, that's not too bad. Hook me up, Tones. I need a lead on that, because I do find myself slowly going to Sideshow and just saying, buy the whole $340 setup, and I don't want to do that. But anyways, we're still props has his sickness is screen use props, like super expensive shit. Yeah, Hot Toys is
mine
peanuts compared to what he's collecting.
Mine is dice. And the funny thing was, so like the thing that Taylor got me that I showed off, this dice tower here, like these things can get it. This was $155.
Holy shit.
Like those things can get very expensive, very expensive. But you don't need to collect these because once you have one, you don't need another one.
Just wait till they start like engraving and putting your favorite shit and art on it. Then you'll be like, oh, I need that one too. Yeah, you're like, oh,
it's like, oh no,
look at that one. I need it. Hey man, trust me, I'm a pro at becoming obsessed with tangible goods.
Hey, it's tough. It's tough. But anyway, to close out the top five, the first full top five of 2023, to close it out, we have at Yayo _ toy _ photo.
Yayu.
And YAYOUH _ toy _ photo. And Yayo, however you want to say it, ends our top five this week with an awesome shot of none other than the Bad Batch boys. What we see is Wrecker doing his wrecking thing, punching a B1 right in the skull while firing off his pistol in the distance to take out another enemy off screen. You see awesome sand kicked up to give you some texture in the image. And then off in the background, I believe you can see Hunter there quickly following behind him to give his boy some covering fire. A great addition to the Bad Batch content that we've had this week. Good to see Yayo out there throwing our boys Clone Force 99 some love in the toy photography world.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of good Bad Batch action last Wednesday. Naturally, you know, people in the community get motivated when new Star Wars comes out, and they tend to theme their shots around it. So last Wednesday, after I, got up, did all my shit, did the podcast solo, then I still did the top five because I'm a dumb fuck, glutton for punishment. But hey, I like looking what you people create. I talk a lot of smack. I'm always negative. I'm a big pessimist, but I do like looking at what you all create, even though it's ruined my own appreciation for the hobby of creating content with Star Wars, because you all are better than me. And I'm just like, why the fuck should I do this when they do it? I'll just share it on Star Wars Time Show. But yeah, I have no idea where I was going with that, so move on. I've literally just completely deleted that thought, just got completely wiped out. Just gone.
All good. Because you know what? That's the end of the top five.
It should be. It should be the end of the show because I just blanked out.
And that's the end of the show. Whee! That's what we're doing now. We're closing it out. Our first duo show of 2023 is in the books. So Matt, take us home.
That's right.
Close us out.
No more nonsense moving forward. That now we will actually have, like I said last week before I realized I was stupid, we're going to have new Star Wars to talk about from now through April, which is exciting. And we'll probably sprinkle in some of the silliness and rumors and leaks. But we got Bad Batch all through February. Then once March hits, we're going to have 2 for time with the Mando and the Bad Batch. So make sure to tune in to the Star Wars Time Show. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, hell, tell an enemy. It doesn't matter. We just need some bodies. We need ears. We need eyes checking this dumb shit out, right? If you feel dumber at the end of an episode of Star Wars Time Show, then we know we did our job. And we want to make the rest of your friends and family dumb too. So please tell them Star Wars Time Show, always time for Star Wars Time. Send them over to starwarstime.net where they can get looped in, linked in to all of the platforms, be it podcast only or YouTube. All the links are over on starwarstime.net. All right, let's get over there, click around. If the server's working, we had a major outage today on the upstream server, but I think she's back and running. But that really is the best place to find information about the show. And like I said, sub up to the podcast platforms and YouTube. All we ask in return for this content, you get the features every day on Instagram, the question of the week, you get a weekly stream and podcast. No hands are being held out, no paywalls, no Patreons and all that shit. But we do ask you to just talk about the show, share our content on your own socials, but more importantly, interact with the artificial intelligence that controls the content humans see now. Okay, so that means on Instagram, put it in your stories, save it. On a podcast platform, rate it, Rate the show, rate the episodes, review it. On YouTube, like the video, like the stream, comment it, share it, clip it. All that stuff tells those AIs, the machines that will soon be running this place, that other meatbags like the show. So when meatbags say, hey, Star Wars podcast, we'll climb that SERPs. Let's do it. Keep it up. Spread the good word. There's always time for Star Wars time. And don't remember, my friends, or don't forget.
Do remember.
Don't forget. Yeah, it's time to go. I'm like, I had a thought I was going somewhere. My brain is like, no, you don't. And now I'm like saying things backwards. Nick knows what I was saying. Don't forget, if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you. Always.